If you pause and observe the baseline rhythm of modern human life, you will likely notice a relentless forward momentum. We are constantly absorbing sensory data, processing tasks, and carrying the heavy, invisible weight of psychological time, always planning, always reacting. This creates a strange phenomenon. We start to feel like temporary visitors in our own lives. We convince ourselves that our current stress is just a layover, and that if we can just hold on a little longer, a future moment of lasting peace will finally arrive. This diagram represents what we typically call the personal self. At the center is our core awareness, but as you can see, it is completely suffocated by dozens of aggressively pulsing data lines, our endless thoughts, anxieties, and identities. We treat this chaotic state as reality, but spiritual teachers like Muji describe this condition as a deep psychological sleep, a delusion. The paradox of trying to escape this sleep is that we attempt to fix the mental noise by using the exact same tools that generated it. Our minds and senses simply turn inward and feed on themselves to create an inescapable, closed feedback loop of overthinking. Breaking out of this loop does not require adopting new religious doctrines. You don't need to travel to a secluded sanctuary or add another complex philosophy to your mental framework to find quiet. True awakening is actually a process of radical subtraction. To hear what Muji calls the call from within, we have to systematically dismantle the closed loop of the mind and simply learn how to let go. This process of emptying can begin right exactly where you are. It makes no difference if you are sitting down in an office, walking outside, or riding a crowded bus. The first step is active physical disassociation. This means observing the external world, but actively stripping away the personal meaning you usually attach to it. Muji calls for a determined withdrawal of attention from sensory distractions. As we stop feeding the noise, the turbulence of our immediate environment begins to smooth out, until our perception becomes perfectly undisturbed. You let the senses dance. You let the world play out its dramas right in front of you, but you remain an unengaged observer, entirely detached from the performance. The first major victory in this practice is severing the automatic link between your physical environment and your internal attention. You prove to yourself that stillness is entirely independent of what is happening around you. Once the physical environment is muted, the focus must move inward to the psychological layer. This is where the mind mounts its strongest resistance to emptiness. You have to actively drop the specific mental constructs that usually anchor your attention. Every lingering memory of the past, every projection for the future, and every immediate intention, let them all fall away. Take a look at this structure. This represents the mental architecture of your self-image, the story you constantly write about who you are. These stacked blocks of memories, intentions, and self-perceptions rest heavily on your foundational awareness. To experience true stillness, you must let go of every single piece of this structure. As each layer is peeled away and systematically dismantled, the heavy architecture collapses, leaving nothing behind but a blank, open grid of absolute emptiness. But as soon as emptiness approaches, the mind will inevitably panic. It will desperately try to fill the space by offering new suggestions, projecting anxieties, or searching the quietness to see if something is wrong. The vital instruction here is to bypass this trap completely. You must refuse to pick any of these thoughts back up. Reject the mind's offerings entirely, relying on zero imagination, until the space is bare, stable, and static. Achieving this state requires patience. You simply have to outlast your own mind's desperate attempts to justify its existence through manufactured problems. It is easy to assume that total subtraction leaves you with a dead, hollow void. But the emptiness that remains when you stop engaging with the mind is actually intensely alive. Here we see what Muji calls pure impersonal consciousness. It is our original nature, revealed after the personal self breaks apart and expands. When this node is removed, our sense of location collapses. Inner and outer lose meaning, leaving an unbroken, unified field. The only remaining instruction is to abide in this pure harmony. Stay in the stillness as the stillness itself, without waiting for anything else to happen or expecting any grand revelations. Spiritual awakening reveals itself as the profound, quiet reality that remains when we finally put everything else down. It is found by stopping entirely, allowing our original nature to be confirmed in the emptiness.